You're on.
I want to talk today about Jokerman by Bob Dylan. I made one video about this song, and it's just too much to do in one sitting for me. So I'm going to try and break it up into a couple different parts. The last video I did, I made the point that it sounds like we're talking about Jesus again in this song, standing on the waters, casting your bread, while the eyes of the idol with the iron head are glowing. Distant ships sailing into the mist, you were born with a snake in both of your fists while a hurricane was blowing. Freedom just around the corner for you, but with truth so far off, what good will it do? So I talked about this one in the previous video. It's on YouTube. Standing on the waters, right? Jesus was known to walk on the water, right? So that sounds, casting bread, casting your bread, bread associated with communion. Casting your bread, almost like casting your body. The bread and the wine, the body and the blood. Okay, so while the eyes of the idol with the iron head are glowing. I'm in the previous video. I made the point that it's kind of alternating between literal and sarcastic lines here in this song, and so the idol is a sarcastic way to look at Jesus, I think. While the eyes of the idol with the iron head are glowing. There was a Jethro Tull song I wanted to throw in. When you're thick as a brick. Okay, I think it's similar to what's being said here with the eyes of the idol with the iron head are glowing. Thick as a brick, iron head. Okay, but the eyes of the idol, for some reason he's referring to Jesus as an idol here, but it's sarcastically done. Okay, here's another thing of, I'll come back to the distant ships sailing into the mist, but here's another sarcastic line. What with truth so far off, what good will it do? Okay, so what does that mean? Truth is Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, right? So with truth so far off is sarcastic because it's talking about Jesus, so he's there. He's not so far off, but it's saying that truth so far off. So more sarcasm there. What good will it do? Okay, so standing on the waters, casting your bread. Sounds like we're talking about Jesus. While the eyes of the idol with the iron head are glowing. Now, the distant ship sailing into the mist. I made the point in the last video that that's a way of saying it relates to 1 Thessalonians 5:2. Jesus coming like a thief in the night. So he's hard to see. You know what I mean? Not that, he's a little hard. Got to be so good looking because he's so hard to see. All right? So, distant ship sailing into the mist. And this gives us a look into the chorus, I think. So why is it dancing in the night? Jokerman danced to the nightingale tune. Bird fly high by the light of the moon. Oh, Jokerman. Okay, so one way to see this, maybe not the only way, but one way to see it is, if he's hard to see, that's another way of saying it's like dark or nighttime, you know what I mean? And light of the moon, so that's what I think is going on here. It's like in Bob Dylan's When He Returns, like a thief in the night, he'll turn wrong into right when he returns. Okay, there's a bunch of songs that have like references to Jesus coming. One of the boss's hangers-on comes to call at times you least expect. Tries to bully you, strong-arm you, inspire you with fear. It has the opposite effect. Okay, so one of the boss's hangers-on, I think is, it's talking about Jesus again. It's like the boss being one of the boss's hangers-on. It's like saying, calling God the Father the boss, and one of the hangers-on is Jesus. You see, one of the boss's hangers-on comes to call at times you least expect. Right? So, coming like a thief in the night, distant ships sailing into the mist, all right, and you can refer to the other video. I talked quite a bit about this, okay, and that might have something to do with this dance to the nightingale tune. Bird fly high by the light of the moon. Jesus fly high by the light of the moon. In other words, you're kind of moving, concealed, thief in the night, that type of thing. Okay, so I'm gonna jump. I'm gonna jump over this. So swiftly the sun sets in the sky. Like I say, I'm just trying to fill in some gaps, some clues. But this verse here is just got a lot of biblical references in. So we're gonna look at this one. You're a man of the mountains. You can walk on the clouds. Manipulator of crowds. You're a dream twister. You're going to Sodom and Gomorrah, but what do you care? Ain't nobody there would want to marry your sister. Friend to the martyr, a friend to the woman of shame. You look into the fiery furnace, see the rich man without any name. Okay. You're a man of the mountains. So, Jesus is kind of, associated with mountains. I'm going to talk about Psalm 87, verse 1 in a minute. But before I go into there, he's associated with the Sermon on the Mount, right? Matthew chapter 5, verse 7, right? Message given by Jesus on a mountain, right? He chose his apostles when he was on a mountain. Mark chapter 3, verse 13. Jesus spent an evening in prayer on a mountain. Matthew 14, verse 23. When Jesus was transfigured, displaying his glory before Peter, James, and John, he was on a mountain. Matthew 17:1. Okay, so let's go to Psalm 87:1. Here we go. His foundation is in the holy mountains. Okay, so you're a man of the mountains. You can walk on the clouds. So you're a man of the mountains. Again, seems like we're talking about Jesus, right? For all those reasons that I just gave. Now, you can walk on the clouds. Let's go to Matthew 24:30. Matthew 24:30. Here we go. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Okay, so that's one reference to Jesus and the clouds, right? So, you're a man of the mountains. You can walk on the clouds. So, further evidence, we're talking about Jesus here. Now, manipulator of crowds. You're a dream twister. You're going to Sodom and Gomorrah, but what do you care? Ain't nobody there would want to marry your sister. So, let's look at Genesis chapter 19, 1 through 9, and see what's being said here. Ain't nobody there would want to marry your sister. Let's go to Genesis 19. And there came two angels to Sodom at evening, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early, and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him, and entered into his house, and he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot, and they said unto him, Where are the men which came in to thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. And Lot went out at the door unto them, and shut the door after him, and said, I pray you, brethren, do not do so wickedly. Behold, now I have two daughters, which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. And they said, Stand back. And they said again, This one fellow came into sojourn, and he will needs be a judge. Now we will deal worse with thee than with them. And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. Okay, so ain't nobody there would want to marry your sister. Okay, so you go to Sodom and Gomorrah, but what do you care? Ain't nobody there would want to marry your sister. Lot was willing to give his daughters, but no, that wasn't good enough. They wanted the men, right? So, now, let's go to some more biblical verses. Friend to the martyr, a friend to the woman of shame. Okay, so martyrs are associated with Jesus, right? They die for the cause, right? I'm not going to spend too much time. The easy one here is a friend to the woman of shame. So let's go to John chapter 8, 1 through 11, and see what is being said there. John chapter 8. These are just clues. I'm not trying to really interpret what it's a little too much for me to interpret what's actually being said. I'm just showing the biblical clues. Okay? Here comes John 8, 1 through 11. Jesus went unto the Mount of Olives, and early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came unto him, and he sat down and taught them. And the scribes and Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery, in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what sayest thou? ? This they said, tempting him, that they might have to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down, and with his finger wrote on the ground, as though he heard them not. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. And they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience, went out one by one, beginning at the eldest, even unto the last. And Jesus was left alone with the woman standing in the midst. When Jesus had lifted himself and saw none but the woman, he said unto her, Woman, where are those thine accusers? Hath no man condemned thee? She said, No man, Lord. And Jesus said unto her, Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. Okay. So, friend to the woman of shame, I think relates to that section. John chapter 8, verse 1 through 11. Now, the next line. You look into the fiery furnace, see the rich man without any name. Now, in the structure of the song, there seems to be some room for saying that could be some type of sarcasm in that line. You look into the fiery furnace, see the rich man without any name. So I think there's some kind of sarcasm in that line. I'm not going to go on and say what I think it is. I'm just going to point out that in this verse of Dylan's Jokerman song, there's a lot of biblical references in this. You're a man of the mountains. You can walk on the clouds. Okay? Manipulator of crowds, you're a dream twister. That's, I don't know what that means yet. You're going to Sodom and Gomorrah. What do you care? Ain't nobody there would want to marry your sister. Okay? Talked about Genesis chapter 19, 1 through 9. Right? The Lot with the two daughters. No, they didn't want the daughters. They wanted the men. Right? Okay. Friend to the martyr. Friend to the woman of shame. Talked about John chapter 8, 1 through 11. Right? Go and sin no more. That woman, right? The woman. Okay. You look into the fire furnace, see the rich man without any name. So, couple more clues. I'm not really, I can tell we're talking about Jesus. I can tell Dylan is talking about Jesus here. What he's actually saying is still somewhat nebulous. You know what I mean? But I can tell that he's talking about Jesus. I mean, it's just, you're a man of the mountains. You can walk on the clouds. You know what I mean? Distant ships sailing in through the mist. Like a thief in the night. Standing on the waters. Walking on water. Casting your bread. Talking about communion. So, there's little doubt in my mind that Jokerman is a song that definitely has Jesus at the focal point. Okay, so that's all for today, and thanks for watching. I'll try and have another video soon.